With the current console generation slowly stabilizing and some massive game releases on the horizon, in this video I want to explore my hopes and also my fears for the future of who I'd call the big three: Nintendo, Xbox, and Sony Playstation. I think what's most crazy about this generation is that it's such a small graphical leap, probably the smallest yet, and we're expecting studios that have held back games from previous gen to take advantage of the beefy hardware of the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series line. What I hope is that the new SSD storage pipeline and the tech demos of Unreal Engine 5 using new technologies like Nanite and Lumen to make even bigger and more realized environments will help these big games find a new footing in the new generation. I also hope that in the wake of the fucking mess that was Cyberpunk's launch and what developers could learn from it pushes us in a positive direction when it comes to fully finished day one games that don't need day one patches. Furthermore, welcome back to modern gaming. So, contrary to what you may believe after the first two parts of this series, I'm a very optimistic guy, and I have high hopes for games like Elder Scrolls 6 and whatever else we may get this generation in the way of big titles, with heavy expectations from fans. I really hope we don't get a repeat of the Cyberpunk situation though. The fact that Bethesda have said that they are in very early development for Elder Scrolls and that they are taking their time is good to hear, but until we get solid proof of what these games are going to resemble at launch, we have to sit in a limbo of expectations. Expectations that Bethesda have proved that they struggle with at the best of times with launches like Fallout 76, even if the game is in a much better state as of 2022. Okay, so first stop is Xbox, and with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard and their army of other heavy-hitting studios from the geniuses at Playground Games behind the Forza series who are developing a new Fable game. Now, with us only seeing a canned opening trailer for this game, similar to the one that Bethesda dropped for Elder Scrolls, we have to wait until we can make any real judgment. But after, in my opinion, mastering the arcade racing formula, Playground getting back to their roots and working on a new Fable game is very exciting. This year though, we can expect Starfield, a new open-world sci-fi epic by Bethesda that has little to no info as of yet, outside of small world-building hints from the initial trailers. But this game being so damn ambitious and Bethesda's first new IP in a long time, it's going to be interesting what we get in the way of news Q1 this year, as Starfield is expected for November 11th, 2022. Honestly, I hope it gets delayed, because with the lack of info coming into the expected year of launch, it doesn't look great for the likelihood this game is in a launchable state. On June 30th, we welcome a game that I'm pretty excited for, and that is when we will be dunked back into the artistic masterpiece world of Cuphead. Titled The Delicious Last Course, the game promises to give fans of the first game some more grey hairs, with Cuphead's notoriously difficult gameplay. MDHR still being independent gives them the breathing room they need to create what I hope will be another slide-scrolling crazy masterpiece. Next to the sequel to Ninja Theory's Hellblade series, Hellblade: Senua's Saga, which is expected to be released Q4 of this year. Although I never finished Hellblade, I have to say that it's probably in my top 5 when it comes to games that are at first visually flooring, and if the initial trailers that were recorded in the engine on Series X are any signifier of what we can expect, then it's very damn exciting for the fans of the series. I've seen some worries from hardcore fans that the game could just be an easy cash grab sequel, and maybe it has the risk of not being as fully fleshed out, but until we see it, we'll not know. So concluding the Xbox segment, I want to say with so many studios under their belt, I do hope that Xbox delivers some great first-party titles this year and the years to come. But what I worry about is with so many studios, not one studio will be able to take work to the next level on a big passion project, and these studios will be stuck making smaller games for Game Pass. And some of these games are great, but I think in the position Xbox find themselves in, they have responsibility to give their acquired studios the freedom to create games they've always dreamed of creating. Now I want to take a little intermission and talk about some games coming to both Xbox and PlayStation this year. Firstly, Gotham City Knights and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, both being developed for release this year, one by WB Montreal, who are the culprits for the not-so-liked Arkham Origins game, and Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which is being developed by Rocksteady, who made the Arkham series and inspired the crazy combo fighting style you find in games like the new Spider-Man for PS4 or Miles Morales. These games have massive promise, but with reports coming out that Suicide Squad has just been delayed as of last night into deep 2023, I also hope that Gotham Knights sees the same treatment. I believe industry insiders are worried about the state of the game and the anticipated crunch and what that may do to studio morale. Therefore, I think if it means delays to ensure the well-being of developers and that games come out in finished states, then I'm all for it. Next up, we have, after all of these years of dreaming about exploring the world of Harry Potter in detail, or at least me anyway, Hogwarts Legacy is expected this September, and once again I have to say that I am very excited to see what this game ends up being like. I really hope you can explore the castle and different eras of Hogwarts. In the details for the launch of the game, we are told that it's set like 100 years before the story of Harry Potter, but I still think we'll get nods towards the Father series. With more and more coming out about Hogwarts Legacy as the weeks go on, it's only a matter of time until we get some good gameplay and a good look at the game. Okay, so we're back on the road again, and our next stop is Nintendo. My hopes for Nintendo in 2022 is that they really start to understand their audience and what we want from big titles. Nintendo has always seemed very out of touch and behind the times when it comes to stuff like their shitty online and no PC support. But with reports that Nintendo are testing their games on PC hardware, maybe for Steam, and the slow but getting there state of the online, I think we can keep our hopes high for this generation of Switch. With big games like the Skywalker Saga and Cuphead coming same day to Switch, I think we can expect good support from third-party studios, as development for the console seems less fucky than the Wii or Wii U era. Games I'm hyped for are obviously the sequel to Breath of the Wild, which I think will be a lovely evolution of the first game with added mechanics but with the rock-solid skeleton of the original engine. We've literally just had the launch of a new Pokemon game, Legends Arceus, which has been splitting Pokemon fans down the middle, with some saying that the more laid-back feel of the new game is a welcome one, with others saying that the game needed another few years in the development oven. In conclusion on Nintendo, I think this year will be a year of readjustment, and when they get out of their old ways of thinking and running the company, we shall see beefier hardware, specifically, because that's what I think is holding Nintendo back. And the Switch screen looks like it was definitely designed for VR in mind, and outside of the cardboard VR headset we got from Labo, there's been no hint of Nintendo's further hardware plans. OLED is definitely a great step in the right direction. Okay, finally I want to talk PlayStation. And with big first-party titles coming to PC and more on the way, I'd say that Sony are in a very sweet spot when it comes to how they develop content for their worldwide audience. Also, with the announcement of PSVR 2, I wanted to talk about the concept of the future of gaming and its deeper potential. But first off, I want to say that I'm super hyped to eventually play Horizon Forbidden West, and also replay The Last of Us Part 2 on PS5. As flawed as The Last of Us Part 2's story is, the game is a technical marvel, and I'm sure it looks and plays even better on the new hardware. I've also seen everyone on PC loving God of War, and all I can say is, you're a bit late, but the game is great and super fun. I'm happy to see the resurgence of interest back into the game, especially when the sequel has been announced to be in development also. One thing I've always had a gripe with PlayStation over is their online doesn't feel as fleshed out as Xbox Live, and I just think it needs a big overhaul. Also, we need a new iToy game for PSVR 2, but that'll never happen. Okay, so onto the topic of VR and the deep future of the medium, I think that the idea that we will be able to dive into another world completely and have an entire full-fledged experience inside Full Dive VR is far off. But I think that the idea that online games are becoming environments to congregate in, as well as just being games, is something we need to pay a lot of attention to. Because big development companies aren't just designing games, they're in charge of what some people could be spending the next decade and further escaping into. Worlds bigger and more ambitious than anything we've come to know of the medium. And with that comes my point. Make lived-in worlds that people can experience furthermore again and again with friends, brothers, sisters, just to make sure that you are taking deep care in the worlds you build for us to partake in. Because communities make games, and having a deep-rooted community means that the game runs itself. And communities can only be built off of the back of solid titles with minimal issues, and a big world as the canvas for endless opportunities for the player. And I know this is very ambitious, but I do see gaming going this way, with things like VR and the metaverse becoming more commonplace. If you want to recapture what brought the 6th generation of consoles so much success, you need to take as much care and craft worlds and experiences people want to go back to. And if people want to go back, people will want to support the game, and people will want to support the community, and people will uphold the game. You should build a house that you would want to live in. And that's my only design philosophy, and it runs deep through my own opinions in this series. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is honestly my favorite of the series, and I'm going to make one more before I wrap it up and go on to something else in entertainment entirely. But for now, please take care of yourselves. I'll catch you in the next one.